Coon Rapids and a bowling alley near the school at Coon Rapids High School. It's time for bowling on CTN Coon Rapids, a first for this channel as we bring you a Metro North Central Conference meet. Here today we'll have two matches for you. First up, Coon Rapids and Andover, and then Coon Rapids and Blaine shortly to follow. Pleased to be joined today by Kurt Walrath, the Coon Rapids Assistant Principal and Activities Director, and Irondale Head Coach John Cryer Jr. Kurt, we'll start with you first. Rob DeVries in his 8th season in charge of the bowling program here at Coon Rapids High School. He's led the Cardinals to state tournament appearances in 6 of his first 7 seasons in charge. He has really built some fever within this within this Coon Rapids program.
Oh, absolutely. Rob is one of the unsung heroes of our coaching staff entirely. He's built a powerhouse here that few people know about, but those that are within our program and our building can appreciate everything he's done, not only as a coach, but as a mentor for these kids as well. He's just an excellent person and has built something truly special here in Coon Rapids.
No question about it. And John, turning to you, postseason play is coming up, so it's a pretty important meet when you consider what these kids are trying to build toward.
Absolutely, yes. They got a lot riding on the line, and we should see some good bowling today.
Yeah, it should be fun indeed. We'll have bowling coming up next here on CTN Coon Rapids.
Okay, I have a couple good ones for you, Joe. How do football players stay cool? By standing next to the fans. What kind of tea do football players drink? Penalty. Why can't you play football with pigs? Because they hog the ball.
Back here in Coon Rapids at an undisclosed bowling alley for the Metro North Central Conference meet as Andover faces off against Coon Rapids to start things, and joined today by Kurt Walrath, the Activities Director here at Coon Rapids High School, alongside current Irondale Head Coach John Cryer Jr. Thanks, gentlemen, for being with us. As you see there for Andover, Alex Darlene with his first roll. He knocked down 9 pins and then responded by Rachel Platt, first year on varsity. And Darlene can't pick up the spare. And John Cryer Jr., what's the mentality once you get those first 9 pins down and you have that spare waiting, but it's a tough angle?
It can be a little nerve-wracking, especially for those first frame bowlers. It's generally when you set up your lineups for Baker format, you're usually looking for that leadoff bowler to set the pace for your team, get the momentum going, get it on your side, and try to win the game, of course.
And Rachel Platt, the sophomore, stepping up. She's been with the program for 4 years. First year on varsity. And knocks down 7 pins there. Hopes to bowl in college. As she gets 7. And now we're on to the second bowlers of the afternoon. Chris Krolik. And a strike picked up by Sean Mitchell. 299 high game, and he picks up a strike. Now it's Chris Krolik. Spinning effort, and he answers with a strike of his own. What'd you see there?
That was actually a classic strike right there. That's what they call the messenger. So the head pin actually goes to the side wall by the 7 pin and comes shooting back and knocks down the 10.
Brings up junior Zach Frechette. First place singles in his division last year, and he picks up a strike as well. More strikes than a baseball game so far. Jaden Cox responds with another strike. He's been with the program 5 years. Again, his first year on varsity.
Great leadership
on this team too. It's a nice mix of kids who've been in the program for a few years and kids who are newer. It's just a great mix.
As Gavin DeVries waits for the bowl of Brady Lechner, the senior. Wants to be an electrician, and he puts a spark into that one and leaves it pin short. So now it's time for the coach's kid, Gavin DeVries. And he picks up a strike. His dad, Rob, of course, the leader of this Coon Rapids program. And a quick response here to pick up the spare. Something his teammate could not do, but Brady Lechner manages to do it. 68-67 our score, but Coon Rapids has picked up 2 consecutive, to make that 3 consecutive strikes. Now it's time for the main man for Coon Rapids, Caleb King, and he leaves one short.
Gavin and Caleb, both multi-sport athletes in our building, 2 teammates on the golf team as well. Very important members of that team too.
I wonder if golf and bowling have some similarities in terms of being individual, but you're also part of a team and requiring a great deal of focus.
Yes, for sure.
As you see the focused look on King's face as he calmly picks up the spare. King and DeVries, team co-captains. 3-year varsity starter is Caleb King. Bryce Newman, 6 bowlers in the lineup today for Andover, something you talked about, Coach, before we got on air. What's the thought process behind that?
Usually having that second or that 6th player in the lineup, it can change your momentum again. And if you have 6 solid bowlers that are lined up, instead of having one sit, you can always have that 6th player come in and contribute to the team as well.
And they'll alternate, right? They'll alternate frames?
That is correct. Once the player, for the game only, but once a player comes out of the lineup, they cannot re-enter until the next game.
Alex Darlene getting his second role, matching with Rachel Platt. As we said, the sophomore been with the program for 4 years, so she'll certainly be one of those future leaders, Kurt, as she picks up a spare.
Absolutely. Nice pickup there. Keeps the roll going with marks. 5 in a row now for Coon Rapids High School.
Darlene with still some work to do. And he leaves one hanging. So an opportunity for Coon Rapids to get ahead. In the conference standings, Spring Lake Park leading the way, Coon Rapids second. The 6-4 record. Andover in 5th with a 4-6 mark. Coon Rapids 29-21 overall, as not quite a 7-10 split. First time we've ever broadcast bowling here on CTN Coon Rapids. Thank you for joining us. This Coon Rapids bowling program deserves a lot of love, as Kurt talked about before they meet. I mean, Rob DeVries has really built it up, and they've had tremendous amount of success, including winning a state championship in 2020.
Absolutely. Rob pours his heart and soul into this program and into these kids, and it shows in the results, that's for sure.
So a nice job by Chris Krolik to kind of do what he could right there. John
Yes.
Cryer, as he had kind of an awkward split, but managed to get two down.
Yep, the split that he left is a very, very low percentage to pick up, but he got the count, which will definitely help towards the end of the game.
Excellent response by Frechette, picking up his second strike of the afternoon. And a good response by Jaden Cox. Been with the program 5 years, first year on varsity. 63% on varsity. What does a stat like that mean, John?
They base everything off of percentages. In other words, your strikes and spares versus your open frames.
I see. So that result right there adds to his percentages. So that 63% of the time, Jaden Cox collects a strike or a spare.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Whenever they fill or knock down 10 pins in both balls, that makes their percentage go up.
Perfect. Interesting. Now a chance here for Brady Lechner. 602 high series in a 269 high game this year. DeVries with the response, and unlucky to leave one short. But yeah, tremendous leadership. Rob DeVries' oldest son, Kurt, is a head coach or not head coach, but the coach of the JV team.
Yes, and fantastic. I want to call him a kid, but he's not a kid anymore. And one of our student council, a young man, one of the student council leaders within our building when he graduated from here. It's good to see him still involved in our programs because he's such a great guy.
Yeah, you love to see when kids come back and give back to the community.
Absolutely.
And I don't care what sport it is, you absolutely need leadership on every team.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, kind of a small stat. My son Brandon used to bowl with Gavin on the Saturday Morning Juniors League many years ago.
Wow.
when they were little tykes.
Does Brandon still bowl?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
159-135. Coon Rapids with the lead as King steps up and knocks down 7 pins. You are not kidding, John. The kids get up and they bowl. It moves quickly. As Bryce Newman, senior, tries to respond. And much like a baseball batting lineup, you've got your order. And yeah, I think we might have lost John. But yeah, Kurt, it's fun to see multi-sport athletes, like on the golf team. I know DeVries plays, I believe, on the basketball team as well. So fun to see that as well as the first game taken by Coon Rapids, 175-138. And sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to add to your point, yeah, all of these sports have things about them that contribute to their growth in other sports. We just love to see it. As many sports and activities that kids can be a part of, we want them to do it. And there's so many aspects of bowling that benefit all of our other programs and team.
It is a club sport technically, but as the two teams have changed lanes, and Platt will lead things off here as Coon Rapids took the first game. Now, volleyball, John, it's not like volleyball. It's not like volleyball where you can necessarily, as a strike earned, so John will rejoin us here in a moment, but Kurt, you said you've been a couple times to bowling matches, right?
Yes, I have.
Bowling meets.
I love the aspect of having all of these teams here at the same time, too, just the noise and excitement as everybody arrives. And there's nothing like a bowling alley that's just really hopping. It's super fun. If you haven't experienced it, I would invite anybody to come out, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a good time as junior Cole Granmo gets some congratulations for
check
for winning. And we're back. Got John back as Chris Krolik nearly flirts with the gutter, but gets the strike as we've got John back. John?
I'm here.
You're here. Now explain for the viewers out there, John. There's 5 games. Coon Rapids won the first, but it's not like volleyball where it's best of 5, right? You do all 5.
Actually, it is best of 5.
It is best of 5.
Yes.
Okay.
The only difference, of course, is if you, like, for example, if Coon Rapids wins all 3 games, you still have to bowl 5. And for the individual percentages, and so the individuals can try to bump up their percentages as well for individual standings.
I see, but if Coon Rapids theoretically wins the next 2, they will have taken
They've won the match.
The match.
Yes.
Thank you. Didn't want to call it the duel like it's wrestling, but you know.
Still has a nice ring to it, though.
Andover off to a nice start with 3 consecutive strikes to start things, leading 60-37. Now, what is that cloth that you just saw Jaden Cox use on his bowling ball? What does that do, other than make it more shiny?
That it does. You're allowed to have a towel, or what they even call as a chamois now. What that does is, as the ball travels down the lane, there's oil on the lane. So as it travels down the lane, it gets on the ball. So where some of the kids may place their hand on the ball to, give it the release, they're just able to wipe that oil off the ball so they can get a good grip on the ball.
I see. Cox manages to pick up the spare. Now it's one of the 2 co-captains, Brady Lechner, and he continues the strike party for Andover. Lechner and Newman, the back-to-back co-captains. One of the co-captains for Coon Rapids collects a strike of his own, Gavin DeVries. Second year on varsity, 5 years with the program. Currently has an 88 percentage, 14th best in the state.
That's very, very good.
Also plays hoops for the Cardinals, and it's a 2-year starter on the Coon Rapids High School golf team. So certainly a lot of athletes.
Gavin is an incredibly well-rounded athlete and student as well.
Which is the most important thing.
Absolutely. Student athlete first. Student comes first for a reason.
Yes. Caleb King. With that gold ball, knocks them all down, picks up a strike. So a couple strikes by the co-captains for the Cardinals. Has them keeping touch with Andover, who's off to a red-hot start here in this second game. Always tough with that split. It's just very difficult, right, to pick it up.
Yep, it's a matter of inches trying to slide the pins over and knock the other ones over as well.
So when it's all said and done after 5, you do end up bowling. Each bowler bowls a full game.
Correct.
2 per game for five games.
Unless you have 6 players when you're doing the rotating.
Players,
yes.
Right. But Rachel Platt, for instance, who we see having just thrown, she will bowl 10 by the time it's all said and done. She'll bowl a full game.
Yep, that is correct.
And so you would add up. So she can theoretically add up all her and know that, okay, I bowled a 220 or whatever.
They could do that. Some kids actually do take. They'll input the stats into their phone. They have apps and programs where they can keep track of their individual game.
She faced the dreaded 7-10 split and couldn't pick up the spare. As Darvin McGurr, the coach for the last decade, last dozen years for Andover.
That's a pretty good run.
Really good
coaching
run.
in any sport, 12 years is. You're doing a lot right if you've been doing it for that long and clearly enjoying yourself, that's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of consistency. Boy, Chris Krolik gets so much spin on that ball. He sees his effort matched. But there is no pitch clock needed in this sport. They get it and go.
Yes, they do.
It's like a soundtrack, though. The ambient sounds of pins in a bowling alley. It's one of the real pleasures of bowling, if you ask me.
It is. It's very soothing.
It is.
You walk into a bowling alley and you immediately know you're in a bowling alley.
You would think it would be this cacophony of sound, and it is, but it ends up almost becoming white noise in a way. Disappointment as still 1 pin standing for Frenchette. Like science, working on cars and off-roading. Strike picked up by Jaden Cox.
This game is there for the taking, too. This is going to be a tight one, I think, into the 10th.
Yeah, 133 to 149. That's a big miss. Unable to pick up the spare. Shake of the head for Frenchette as we're on to the 8th frame.
Looking at the scores, if if Gavin is able to strike here, you're going to have a lead change.
Coon Rapids trying to come from behind here in the second of these 5 games. And I love the jerseys too. No cooler uniforms in sports than some of these bowling jerseys. Very, very fascinating. Very fun. Lechner leaves one in the 10 spot. Is that the 7 or the 10 spot?
That is the 10.
That is the 10, okay. I said it, and then I was not sure. I questioned myself. I shouldn't have questioned myself.
You got it right.
As DeVries steps up, trying to pick up the spare, and does.
It's a big pickup for Gavin.
Now, Kurt, from a managerial sensor, from your position, what are your job responsibilities for, sort of recognized varsity sports within the state high school league versus club sports that are still highly organized and competitive, or do you approach all sports the same?
It's a great question. I think a lot of the approaches are the same. The great thing about the kind of team that Coach DeVries runs in this program is they do such an unbelievable job of running it that for me in my position, it's just for me to enjoy and check in with the kids and coaches, but they do such a great job. There isn't a whole lot that I need to do in the day-to-day management of it, that's for sure. The kids and the coaches do that.
And once some of these programs get established, they almost run themselves in a lot of ways, especially if you have the same leadership at the top.
Absolutely. I know that Coach has to do less recruiting than he used to do because kids just want to be a part of it. I mean, if we have a table at an open house where bowling is there, kids flock to that table, parents flock to that table because they've heard it's such a great program.
Yeah, they had 11 to start when he joined, and now they're somewhere between 23 and 26 every year.
Yes.
How are those numbers, John, compared to the average program?
That's very impressive. That's outstanding, actually.
So a lot of interest in the program that Coach DeVries has built. Meanwhile, we head into the 9th frame. It's 170 to 178. Coon Rapids, as we see the 2 head coaches, DeVries and McGurr. Newman rolls the 9th. Bryce Newman, an MJBT CBA title winner and 2018 Upper Midwest USA Bowling U15 Championship member of the Minnesota Otters. Pretty good.
Big win for Andover, squaring up the match at 1 apiece.
Yeah, the game wrapped up. Didn't see the final score. It was 178 to 170. As we look, 187 to 170. Andover squares the match in a game apiece as Rachel Platt gets set to bowl. And I think not being able to pick up that spare ended up costing. The 2 teams trade sides, and actually it'll be Alex Darlene, the junior, also plays basketball and baseball. High game of 280 this year.
.280 would probably be 3 games combined for me.
Yeah, I still need bumpers. Oh, big strike to start things for Rachel Platt. Hopes to bowl in college. And her favorite bowling ball is the Zen Master. I don't know what's better, the color of these balls or the names.
There are actually some pretty good combinations out there nowadays. A lot of these balls they make, they're pretty flashy. Got some pretty cool names to them, too.
Yeah, I was going to say. How has bowling changed in, well, say the last 5 years, John?
Quite a bit. It's there's a lot of different options out there for equipment for kids kids, actually any bowlers, to buy. A lot of these balls do specific things down lane. A lot of them you can get that what they call is a skid flip reaction. So you see the ball kind of skid down lane, and then as it changes direction towards the pins, it can get pretty violent. And then you also have some other balls out there that they look like they're sanded down. They look pretty dull. And what they do is they actually will dig into the lane a little bit earlier, a little bit smoother, and create more of an arcing motion. So the way the ball shapes down the lane has been quite different.
And so do you try to throw a ball differently depending on what it's designed to do?
Correct, yes.
John, are there kids that use multiple balls then throughout the course of a match, or?
Generally, yes. They, in basic, I don't want to say basic bowling, but for an avid bowler, generally you'll carry around about 5 balls. One will be a spare ball, which is plastic, which is the minimal hooking ball. So that way you can keep it as straight as you can for making your spares, make it a little bit more easier for yourself. And then again, they'll have the 4 other balls or 5 other balls, so if they choose to carry 5 or 6, to do different shapes down lane to see which one will carry strikes better.
What does a bowling ball even run these days? A couple $100?
Yes. They have everything basic, a plastic ball. They run usually about 130-ish in that range, but you can get into the big complex type balls. They have these weight blocks inside of them that are very well built with different chemical formulations to make these balls do specific things, and they can run all the way up to about $280.
Amazing. As Cox collects his spare, ends the run of a couple strikes to start things for Coon Rapids, but the Cardinals hoping to bounce back after they dropped the last game to Andover. You know, I guess it's like anything else, right, Kurt? Like, you wouldn't think that the bowling ball could have really changed that much since like 1980, but it's like anything else. You inject some technology into it, and all of a sudden it's light years ahead of what it used to be.
Absolutely. Thinking about golf clubs and skates and shoes. Absolutely.
DeVries leaves the 1 in the 10 spot. Lechner trying to respond, and he does. First strike of the game picked up for Andover. Lechner's been really, really good this afternoon. I assume at this level, John, most kids own their own bowling shoes?
Yes. Yep. And that, as is bowling ball equipment shoes-wise, there's numerous different kinds of shoes out there as well. Because of the approaches, they have different textures out there. They have what they call a synthetic, which is actually what we have here. And they also have wood approaches, which is has that different texture for the sliding wise. So actually, the more higher performance shoes, you can actually take the soles and the pads off the shoes and replace them with different fabrics to create either a more slide or a less slide.
Wow. And what does slide do for a bowler?
Depending on their approach to the line, where a lot of your power players, what they need is into that pivot steps. So that's the second step before they go into, or the second step before they go into their slide. They want a lot of traction, like a tire. So they want to make sure that they can push off really good to the line, and then their sliding shoe, they want it to be really smooth, really basic texture from the approach to the line, so that way they can, when their momentum shifts to the line, that they're actually able to slide smooth, but also brake as well to keep their momentum and their balance on line.
Now, as you approach a line, as we saw Rachel Platt nearly pick up her second strike of the game, is there a foul situation where if you go over the line, what's the rule at the high school level for that?
Yep, that is correct. In bowling in general, they have a foul line right at the base of where the lane starts, and if your foot or any part of your body crosses that line, it's considered a foul.
Any part of your body?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yep. And to clarify that as well, like if you swing your foot over the line but you don't touch the lane, it's not a foul. if you make contact with anything past the foul line, then it's a foul.
So your knee, in theory, could flex over the line, but if you don't touch the line,
that is correct.
It's no
Then it's a legal shot.
interesting. Froelich. They'll have a tough spare to pick up. Lechner, meanwhile, able to pick it up. So he keeps rolling and tries to get Andover back in this one. They trail Coon Rapids 111-91. Cardinals with a spare and 3 strikes. They've also missed on a couple spares.
This is
Do what
feeling
they
like
can
another
with that
game.
one.
No, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Kurt.
I was going to say, this feels like another game that's going to go right to the 10th frame.
Yeah, certainly. And I imagine, John, that most of these games at the high school level, even among teams of different levels, are pretty close.
Generally, they are. Yeah, the game's pretty close. You don't really see very many blowout games.
So to speak, yeah. Jaden Cox has had a nice afternoon, the junior, wearing number 25. Do they refer to them as jerseys, shirts?
Yep.
What's the nomenclature?
Jerseys.
Okay.
Yep.
And then dress pants, because we got to keep it classy.
Yes, that's actually a high school rule. You have to wear slacks, or girls can wear what they call skirts,
Right.
like they wear in tennis
Sure.
or golf.
Sure.
But the uniforms is definitely something that the high school committee has enforced.
Well, can't have people out here in joggers or anything, you
No.
know. So as Cox frustrated that he can't pick up the spare, but Coon Rapids a couple frames away from taking a 2-1 lead. And now is it muscle memory, John, with the approach, much like a golf swing, where you've just done it time and time and time again, and you know sort of how far back you need to go? And because I know when I go bowling, every swing is different, every shot is different, and I'm always messing around,
Yes.
trying to get the perfect results. Just like that, as DeVries picks up a strike. But anyway, go ahead, John.
Bowling is a lot of muscle memory. The main goal is you want to try to repeat shots. And once you throw that good one, you try to replay it in your mind, rethink it over, and help yourself with that muscle memory again to repeat those good shots.
That was a decisive 9th frame there, as Lechner was not able to pick up the strike and not able to answer the strike of DeVries. So 133-127. As Lechner tries to pick up the spare and manages to do so. But now King with a real opportunity to put this one away for Coon Rapids. Cardinals, after a 10-minute break, once this match is over, will move to lanes 5 and 6 and take on the Blaine Bengals. And King, it's so interesting. It feels like a lot of these, especially in this match this game rather, for Coon Rapids, a lot of the spares have been left with the pin in the 10 spot.
Yeah, that is correct. It's the lanes are changing a little bit, so as the playing field on the lane, what they call is a house shot, is what the kids are bowling on. But the oil that's laid down on the lanes will every ball that's thrown down the lane makes that oil move around a little bit. And what happens is in bowling, the term they call that is transition. So the lanes are breaking down just here a little bit. So it's what's happening is the last few shots seen here with the 10 pin is that ball's coming in behind the head pin a little bit too much, so that angle is a little bit too great. So you'll see we got 2 great coaches here. They'll talk to their kids and make the adjustments so they can start striking more.
Now the situation here we find ourselves is Newman and King are the last bowlers. They get a chance to go for 3 as King tried to pick up a strike, and Newman did, or King rather did pick up a strike. Newman picked up the spare and had one more bowl. So the score is 162-158. Newman with one more roll, trying to pick up the spare, and he does.
What a great game. Huge pickup on that spare by Caleb.
Yep.
Great game.
And that ultimately made the difference, as I believe our final is going to be 162 to 159. Coon Rapids with a narrow 3-pin win. And they'll switch sides and start the fourth game as the Cardinals take a 2-1 lead here over the Huskies. And Coon Rapids, despite the lowest score of the day for them, managing to get the win. And Rachel Platt, as the quote-unquote visiting team now for Coon Rapids, will step up, try to start things the way she did last game. Is it one of those things, John, where the harder you bowl doesn't necessarily mean, because I know in golf, very often the harder you swing, the more out of whack your form gets, and the more out of sorts you are, and the more you're likely to hit an errant shot. Is the same true in bowling?
Yes. Yeah. If you get to a point where you go to deliver your ball and you throw it too hard, what happens is the ball's going to skid too far down lane, a lot like a car tire on ice. So it's not going to be able to grab at the proper spot to make its change of direction to the pocket.
As you see, able to pick up the spare there.
John, I'm curious too. How much attention do you pay to what the other team is doing? Is it more, I want to bowl my game, make sure I take care of business and everything will be fine, or do you pay attention to the situation?
As a coach, definitely pay attention to the other team, what their demeanor is, what they're doing, how they're gaining their momentum, so that way, as a coach, preparing the players, hey, they're going to get ready to make a run. So, you really got to just give a little extra focus. As the more I teach, as I coach my kids from Irondale, is focus in on your own ability. Do what you can to throw the best shot that you can do.
Worry about what you can control, in other words.
Correct, yes. As it is, let the coach do the coaching.
Sage advice. Thankfully, no referee to yell at or get frustrated by in this sport, as Mitchell and Krolik exchange strikes, and Cox picks up a strike for the Cardinals, who got off to a fast start in game number 3, and strikes all around as both teams picking up the intensity. Kurt, while we have you here on the broadcast, what else is happening in Coon Rapids activities that you want to spotlight? A lot of things going on in the October time of year.
Yeah, it's an exciting time of year. I mean, we're getting to that playoff season time. We've already had a few teams that have been in action. Soccer was on Tuesday, both teams. Tennis is in their individuals next week in sections. Football, a couple of weeks left in their regular season. Swim's getting toward the end. And volleyball playoffs coming up soon. It's a cross-country head conference yesterday. There's a ton going on. It's a super exciting time of year. It's really fun.
Yeah, very fun, as well as, I'm sure, a fall play that's getting set to get going. And
yes, fall play, and we're very excited about the work we've done. We have a brand new auditorium, essentially, too, so the fall play will kind of be a part of christening that. So super excited about that.
Very exciting as two teams continue to roll along. As you see there on the scoreboard, 2, 3, and 4 for both teams managed to pick up strikes. Every time Coon Rapids racks up another strike, Andover is able to respond. Cardinals have an 11-pin lead. Got to take advantage when you can, as Bryce Newman, accustomed to getting strikes, has still some work to do. King responds with a strike, and Coon Rapids on quite the heater right now.
Is it still known as a turkey, even if in team bowling? How does that work? 3 strikes in a row, still turkey?
You are correct. Yes, 3 strikes in a row is a turkey, and then for a number of years now, I won't say, but as the professional bowlers tour, there was a guy named Rob Stone had developed the 4-bagger called the ham bone.
This is a very informative broadcast for our viewers, I'm sure. 4 strikes in a row, a ham bone. Coon Rapids with a ham bone as Platt still with a couple pins left, but very makeable for her spare. John, when you structure a lineup per se for a match, what thought process goes into it, and do you try to keep the order the same, on a week in, week out, meet in, meet out basis, or do you switch things up depending on circumstances?
For a majority of the time, I try to keep the lineups the same, mainly for the kids and their mind frames for the positions that they're at. Because as you set your lineup to start, usually you want your first bowler is going to be the one that's going to set your pace. You're looking for a good quality shot to get a spare or strike, and then your 2 and 3 frames following suit behind them, and then your 4 and 9 frame guy is going to be your setup guy. He's going to try to get that strike to set it up for your best bowler, which is usually the anchor bowler, which your anchor bowler is going to should have the higher percentage of getting strikes, so you can set them up. And for lineup wise, try to keep them the same so the kids have that same mind frame. Every once in a while, we get into situations where you're looking you got to sneak that game out, you got to get a win. So we might even switch the lineup a little bit, try to get our guys to strike early, put pressure on the other team right away, force their hand, make them do something, and
maybe go away from their game almost.
Yep, try to make that blowout game. Make that other team really think, hey, we're still here.
Right. No, that's fascinating, and we really appreciate you joining our broadcast today for insights like that, because again, first time bowling has been broadcast on CTN Coon Rapids, and get to see kids like Jaden Cox do their thing, picking up a strike, trying to keep the distance ahead of Andover. Coon Rapids with a relatively healthy lead of 31 pins right now, but as we know, that can disappear in a hurry with a couple strikes.
Absolutely. We've seen a couple games already today kind of turn in these middle to end frames,
Yeah, when the pressure players come up, there's a lot of debate about whether clutch is a thing in other sports, but I can certainly see it being relevant in bowling, because there are those pressure moments, right, when you're down a certain amount and only a strike will do.
That is very, very, very true. It's, just like golf, you want an 18th fairway, you're in the lead, you want to keep it in the fairway off the tee. It's same thing for bowling.
Absolutely. There's putting the pressure on, and then there's keeping the pressure on.
Correct.
As Lechner spins the purple orb down the lane, and I'm going to guess that's what, a 2-6 split?
That is a 4-9.
That's a 4-9.
4-9. Yep.
I was wrong, but that's okay. We're learning here on CTN Coon Rapids.
Yeah, generally that hits left because the ball, as it entered the pocket, the 1-3 pins, it was just a little too high, and the ball drove through the pins a little too hard. And unfortunately, even like other sports, that little small mistake, unfortunately, you can pay a penalty.
He nearly managed to pick up the spare anyway, but he left a pin short. So that helps Coon Rapids as they lead it by 42 pins now, 186 to 144. Big spare picked up previously by the coach's son, Gavin DeVries, and his fellow co-captain, Caleb King. As this is Newman. Caleb King will be next, trying to Coon Rapids already with their highest team score today at 186. And King with just one pin left to pick up there, over 200 for the first time this afternoon. Newman leaves the spare.
Strong match from the Cardinals, and strong clinching game for the Cardinals.
Yep, no question about it as King picks up the spare, and that should clinch it for Coon Rapids. We'll see what the final totals are, but this is a comfortable victory here in game number 4 for Coon Rapids. And as Kurt just mentioned, that third win in the series will give them the match. They'll still obviously bowl the 5th game, but King with another opportunity as he looks to put the icing on the cake. And he manages to pick up 9. So I believe our final is going to be 214 to 153. As Coon Rapids, with their best performance of the afternoon when they needed it most. And Andover, conversely, with their lowest score at 153. But impressive job by the Cardinals. Pick up another conference win in the Metro North Central Conference. So you see Rob DeVries. And how do you like to work with him? And is it that different than any other coach, or is there sort of times of year where you'll reach out to him, and I guess how do you work with a coach like that?
I think, with Rob too, he's obviously a veteran coach, so he's been through this before. He's done it many times. He's ultra organized in everything that he does, and I know that if I hear from Rob, that it's something out of the ordinary, which is rare because he takes care of business with his team, and he's, like I said, he's ultra prepared and organized with his crew.
John, you're the head coach right now at Irondale, nearby school. How do you like to work with your athletics or activities director?
It's good to keep them always keep them informed. As we try really hard to push bowling and to make it an official sport, just to get the exposure out there with the school. For example, last year we won our conference championship. And it's like, I went to the athletic director, even went to the principal and said, these kids deserve some recognition for their school and their peers, and let them know that, there's other sports out there as well. And they actually did some announcements. A couple of kids took it underneath their wing, got it into their newsletter. So it's getting the exposures out there.
There's a lot of real unsung heroes and kids in our programs, that practice and put hours and hours and hours in, and no one ever knows it, and until you come and experience it at something like this, you don't realize what these kids do and how much time and commitment and passion they have for their sport.
Right, and you want to give them as much, recognition. They put the time in, same as the other sports. As Chris Krolik makes it 2 strikes in a row to start things for Coon Rapids, not content to rest on their laurels, hoping to make it a 4-1 win here in this opening match. Don't forget, as soon as this is done, they'll take a break and then move over to lanes 5 and 6. Right now, Spring Lake Park and Anoka doing battle on lanes 5 and 6. As Jaden Cox makes it 3 strikes in a row. Cox very expressive and very happy to make it 3 strikes in a row for Coon Rapids. It's going to beat their high of 214 from the previous game.
Jaden seems like he's heating up too. These last few frames, he's kind of, you can just tell he's got that look in his eyes.
In terms of leadership, John, on your bowling team, I assume you have captains as well. What do you look for in a leader on a bowling team?
Somebody that can definitely keep the momentum up on the team. As you know, you only get 2 frames in the game to try to help your team score. And unfortunately, if you have an open frame, you're usually walking back, your head's down like you've let your team down. But you have that captain to say, hey, you know what? It happens. Move on to the next frame. We're a 5-man team. You know, it's not just one person. Those other 4 people can pick you up, and you're just looking for that captain to keep the momentum high, and just keep them going.
Similar intangibles as in other sports.
Absolutely, yes.
DeVries manages to pick up a spare. Lechner.
And the big thing is too is the conference meets. Once you get into postseason play with the super regionals in the states, a bowling center will get loud, just like a baseball game, like a football game. I mean, the teams are yelling when they strike, when they get a double, turkey, they're yelling, and it's all okay. And it's not to disrupt your fellow competitors, but you know, you just want to ride that momentum. You want to ride the wave and keep it going, and it gets pretty intense, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I get emotional bowling when there's nothing at stake, so I can only imagine if a trip to state is at stake, how exciting it must be. Andover collects the strike.
I really like the format of this too. Is I think you take an individual, what would be known as an individual sport, and have really made it into a team sport with the way that it's set up. I really like that aspect of it.
Yeah, you have individual numbers within, and that's, again, another way that it's like golf, right? You have individual numbers that, you know, comprise the team game, but everyone's contributions count, whether you're first or fifth in the proverbial order.
Correct.
Rachel Platt with her second turn picked up a strike to start things in this game for Coon Rapids. Has a 9-10 split to deal with. As Darlene awaits the throw of Platt. And Rachel Platt finishes off a nice game. And her reasons for enjoying bowling is the same as a lot of the kids. Likes having fun and winning with their teammates and friends. And I feel like, John, you can verify this, but you have to have some close-knit relationships on the team. So teams aren't that big.
Correct,
And
yes.
you hang out at the bowling alley, you know, rolling, and I imagine that the teams get pretty tight-knit.
They do. And the nice thing is even like before the lanes turn on for practice, I mean, you'll see all different kinds of jerseys everywhere. Like, you know, there'll be Coon Rapids kids talking to Nonoka teams, talking to Spring Lake Park teams. So it's like they're building friendships even outside the school as well with other kids. A lot of my kids even will practice with other teams from different conferences, and they'll just go out and just bowl to have fun and, you know, hang out with friends.
Those are the relationships, the memories you carry with you from high school. Chris Krolik, whose best moment in high school was winning JV state, picks up a spare for Coon Rapids.
7 consecutive marks for Coon Rapids to start Game 5.
And that's the thing, is like their JV program is successful. 4 JV teams in addition to the varsity team under Rob DeVries' program. And I think, Kurt, it seems like one of those things where teams that have success, it begets success, right? Where that's how you end up having 23 to 26 kids every year, is because they know it's successful. It's a solid program with good leadership, and those things just kind of tend to carry it on from year to year to year.
Definitely. There's that old adage that everybody loves a winner and everybody wants to be a part of a winning program and a winning team. And yeah, when Rob sets up a table at, you know, an open house or parent-teacher conferences, kids flock to that table. They've heard about the success of these guys and this team, and they want to be a part of it. Guys and young ladies, I should say.
Yes. And yeah, no doubt, too, part of their success has to be credited with the support of your office and just being there for the club teams and giving them that same level of support as you would varsity programs, and not making them feel like second citizens.
Well, it's awfully nice of you to say. You know, we do the best that we absolutely can and want to support all our kids. But I will say, you know, all the credit for this program goes to the coaches and the kids that have made it what it is. And I'm just excited and happy to be able to support it and be here.
We thank you for taking time to join us on the broadcast today as Coon Rapids continues to put up impressive numbers, leading Andover here in this 5th and final game. Yeah, you look at that scoreboard, marks in almost every single outing is DeVries, who had a strike in his first, picks up a strike in his second.
That's a big one.
It's got to feel good when you rolled 2 frames, picked up 2 strikes.
Yeah, here again, you're going to have your, the game itself come down to the 10th frame.
167, 163. Ends up being King versus Newman, and King has the roll. Great shot by our terrific crew down here as the dreaded 7-10 split.
In bowling, that is probably it is by experience one of the worst feelings you can ever have. It's because you hit the pocket, you threw it good, and then you get severely penalized.
Yeah, there certainly does seem to be an element of luck in bowling.
There is a little bit, yes.
Which can be frustrating if you let it. And so King does what he can. Newman, meanwhile, picked up a strike to now Andover with a real opportunity to take this final game. And they indeed will. Newman will try to pick up a spare, but Coon Rapids will end with a score of 185, which will, in fact, be their second highest roll of the game, but Andover has just bowled probably their finest one here in the last one. 191, looking to make it 200.
On Andover's perspective, too, even it's unfortunate, yeah, they did lose the match. But winning that last game and then also shooting 193 their last game, it's going to give them a nice momentum ride into their second match.
Yep, no question about it. And we'll have Coon Rapids' second match against Blaine coming up shortly here. I'd like to thank Kurt Walrath for joining us, Activities Director and Assistant Principal at Coon Rapids High School. Cardinals win the first match of the day here over Andover by a final of 3 games to 2. We'll be back in a moment here in Coon Rapids. This is Bowling on CTN Coon Rapids. Back here in Coon Rapids, Bill Hupp alongside Irondale head coach John Cryer Jr. And game recap from the first match of the day between Andover and Coon Rapids. Cardinals ended up taking it 3 games to 2. Chris Krolik picking up a strike. Andover would respond. Ultimately, Coon Rapids won the first game, the third game, and the fourth and decisive game. Andover would win the 5th. But John, pretty impressive performance from the Cardinals, who used early strikes to get that momentum, and that ultimately carried the day for the Cardinals.
Yeah, absolutely. They applied the pressure. and they just kept it going, and Andover put up a fight, and it just, by the numbers, just fell a little short.
Coon Rapids with a high score of 214. It's the only time they got above 200 on the season. They are sitting 14th in the state. They came into this meet 14th in the state with a game average of 185 as we are getting set for our second match between Coon Rapids and Blaine, this Metro North Central Conference meet. Blaine coming in, one of the top teams. They are 5-5 coming in. They've won 29 games and lost 21. But in terms of their average, they're third in the state with a nearly 198 average per game.
That's impressive. That's a very good average.
Top team in the state is also here in Spring Lake Park as we're getting set to get going. Spring Lake Park coming in with a near average of 206 as you see Rachel Platt starting things out for Coon Rapids. And, something we didn't really think about or talk about much before this is obviously most of the time the first time that kids have bowled in front of TV cameras. So that can definitely affect kids in different ways as well.
Absolutely. Yep. It'll definitely test their focus and concentration. They just got to make sure that they focus on their target, make sure their basics follow through, and they should do just fine.
Block it out as Alex Michaels. And Platt tries to pick up the spare here and can't do so. Michaels, a senior at Blaine, not wasting any time, currently an 82% fill for the season. Michaels does manage to pick up the spare. Coon Rapids on lane 5 and Blaine on lane 6. As we take a look at Chris Krolik, same lineup in this match for Rob DeVries, the head coach of Coon Rapids in his 8th season. Meanwhile, for Blaine, Jason Moberg, junior in his 3rd season with Blaine. Went to the Junior Gold in Michigan this past summer. And actually, I beg your pardon, that's freshman Caleb Lindstrom. Won the high school boys state championship last year as an 8th grader. So
that's
how's
impressive.
That on your biography? Wow. Caleb Lundstrom. It'll be Alex Michael, Jason Moberg, Caleb Lindstrom, Braylon A. Almberg, and J.J. Christensen. Jeremy Jr. Christensen. As Jaden Cox. What is that on his left foot?
What they call is it's a shoe cover. So in the if you have to.
So that's an accident. I wasn't sure if it was part of his strategy. Don't worry, Jaden, that's not on TV.
Yeah, the bowlers will use those for if they have to
between lanes.
And if you have to go to the bathroom or you want to go get a drink or something, that way you don't step in water because water and a bowling shoe do not mix.
Interesting. Good to know. As Cox flummoxed by that one. Not sure how it didn't come off better. Seemed like it had good spin on it, but.
Yeah, that ball definitely got down the lane when it went to change direction. It didn't quite get there, so I'm sure you'll see an adjustment from him when he comes up on the 8th frame.
Blaine, led by head coach Julie Saba, been coaching Blaine for 4 seasons. As Cox will try to do something. And he manages to pick up a spare.
Great spare there by Jaden.
Tremendous resiliency from Jaden Cox. Frustrated that more pins didn't go down, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Amen to that.
Now you can warm your hand up over that as DeVries steps up.
Yeah, the ball returns, they have an air dryer that comes up. It's just normal air, just blowing up there because as you bowl, you can sweat and perspirate. So what that does is just dries your hand out, so that way you don't have to worry about getting any of that perspiration in the holes, so it causes you to stick or cause you to pull the ball.
You might have seen Braylon Almberg warming his hands up as DeVries sheds the shoe covers. 51-50. Coon Rapids with the narrowest of leads over Blaine right now, and DeVries unable to pick up the strike. Holmberg trying to respond with just a single pin needed. And he does with that blue ball matching his blue jersey. Picks up the spare, so 2 straight marks. Gotta be honest, I was impressed with Kurt Walrath's bowling knowledge.
That was pretty cool.
The Coon Rapids Activities Director and Assistant Principal, who was nice enough to join us for the first match this afternoon. Using terms like marks, he taught me a thing or two. This is J.J. Christensen, who leaves it. Not even going to guess what that split is.
That one is called the baby split, the 2 and the 7 pin.
The 2-7 split. King trying to pick up the spare. Meanwhile, for Coon Rapids, just 1 strike in this first game. He manages to do it there. 68-64, Blaine on top. Bengals just behind Coon Rapids. Coon Rapids 7-4 in the Metro North Central Conference. Blaine 6-5. But again, Blaine with the higher per game average as Platt steps up, dries her fingers, and gets ready to bowl her second frame. And she picks up the strike. If she's feeling nerves, she doesn't show it. Michaels does not wait very long after that result to
No, that was a great shot there by Rachel. Way to rebound.
Yes, Platt. He's been a strike machine all day. Just a sophomore, been on with the program for 4 years, but first year on varsity this year as Michael manages to pick up the spare. So Chris Krolik, also been with the program for 4 years, first year on varsity, the senior. Favorite bowling ball, Forest Green Quantum. Have to imagine that's what he's rolling right here. That's a tough split right there.
Yeah, the 4, 6, 7, 10 split there. That's the nickname for that split's called the Big Four.
The Big Four. Lindstrom, defending state champion, leaves the 7. Goes to show you that the fact that this young man won it as an 8th grader goes to show you that kids of all ages can be good at bowling.
Absolutely, yes. And the nice thing is even the sport in general, bowling is a lifelong sport. You can be 8 years old or you can be 80, and you can still enjoy the sport.
Oh yeah, I imagine senior leagues are very vibrant. As Lindstrom tries to pick up the spare, and that thing just hangs a left and does exactly that.
Yeah, these kids nowadays, they can make the ball hook pretty good.
Very number 99 as Jaden Cox steps up. Cox with an adventurous spare in his first frame. And he picks up the strike that time, a shake of the head. I like how expressive he is. Yeah, I enjoy seeing the personality of these kids come out.
Yeah, there's definitely some kids in our state that can get that can be really animated, and it's a great thing to see though, because it's just that athlete in them coming out.
Jason Moberg with the dedicated mullet right there. But, you see the focus on these kids' faces, and you certainly know that they're not messing around. They take it very seriously, and they're as serious about this sport as a basketball or baseball or soccer player would be about theirs.
Absolutely. Yep. They and especially again, as we were talking before, it's there's five kids on the team, and of course, they don't want to let their teammates down. They want to, they want to perform at their best.
Yeah, no question about it, as DeVries takes his turn. Coon Rapids trails 122 to 110, but that helps. 2 consecutive strikes for the Cardinals to regain the lead. And that's why you got your heavy hitters in the 4 or 5 spots in the lineup.
That is correct, yes. Yep. There was a nice answer back from Blaine. This is
Tremendous from Alberg.
here's another game again, coming down to that 10th frame.
Pretty impressive when you can have the state champion, the defending state champion, third in your rotation, as Lindstrom is for the Bengals.
That just tells you how good their lineup is.
Yeah. J.J. Christensen, J.J. standing for Jeremy Jr. Unlucky not to pick up the strike there. Blaine with almost the tamest of the jerseys, which is saying something. Now King will have a tough time picking up the spare. This one's about as tight as it can be, 151 to 150 as Christensen picks up his spare with relative ease, good sportsmanship. And yeah, I imagine you see that. A lot of the kids probably know each other and interact. It kind of lends itself to that. That interaction, such as the closeness, and ultimately King doing what he can do. Currently 82% coming in. Would like to bowl in college, but it's not his main priority. Also on the Coon Rapids golf team. Christensen with 4 pins remaining. Described by head coach Rob DeVries as a quiet leader is King. So Blaine and Coon Rapids. And it looks like, I believe the final score was 158 to 155.
That is correct, yes.
In favor of
Blaine.
Blaine, yes.
Yep.
Coon Rapids falls. They're moving so quick here.
Actually, I just got a note here from Rob. It looks like Coon Rapids is going to go with a lineup change here.
Okay.
They're going to mix up their bowlers here, and some of the players that had a better, what they would call is a look on the lane. They seem to get to the pocket better. They're gonna drop them into the 4-9 and the 5-10 spot.
Okay, so as Jaden Cox and Gavin DeVries shifting over, and Caleb King moving to the 3 spot. Rachel Platt and Chris Krolik staying in the 1-2 position, as Alex Michael, senior at Blaine, will start things off, bowling in lane number 5 for the Bengals. 158 to 155. They don't let that score linger on the scoreboard very long.
Nope, they don't. It's kind of cool that they move in the pace is up there, but the nice thing is it still gives each individual that steps up on the lane time to focus, concentrate, and do what they got to do.
Now, is there a time limit that you have to bowl in? And I know there are certain circumstances where you can get a 0.
Correct.
But
if the bowler's not up to bowl, it has to be an ample amount of time, but there can be a 0 called by the other coach. But 99% of the time would just, there's usually a reason for it. So they'll just, just be up there when you can and keep it moving along.
now is the coaching fraternity pretty tight-knit in high school bowling?
Yes. Yeah, and it's we all work together. We're all in it for one reason, and it's to help these kids become better bowlers and better kids.
Right.
And get them ready for
give them the same high school experience as other athletes want. As both Lindstrom and Krolik polishing their bowling balls. Lindstrom rolling from the second spot, it would appear, for Blaine. After being listed in the third spot in the first game. So Head coach for Blaine, Julie Saba, rotating her lineup as well. Big strike collected by Krolik. He's looked good this afternoon.
Very solid, yes.
$30-28. That's a 158 to 155. That's a narrow score.
Yeah, scores are a little low the first game. Again, they're switching lanes, so from the two teams that bowled on the pair ahead of them,
Not as
the
many
oil
strikes.
changed.
Yeah,
Yep.
not as many strikes, it would seem. Lindstrom able to pick up his spare. Caleb King now bowling from the 3 spot after occupying the 5th, and he responds with a strike. So Caleb King, and that might have to be I would imagine that's a tough message to give a kid sometimes. Hey, we're gonna bump you up out of that coveted 5th spot sometimes, but King responds like a team player and picks up a strike for his team. And Allenberg answers with a strike of his own, but John, speak to that. Is that how do you convey that message to a kid when you decide tactically to change things in the middle of the meet?
It can be a touchy subject. Of course, nobody wants to feel like they've
been demoted or something.
Yeah, exactly. But they understand that again, it's a 5-person team, and you got 2 other players on your team that are locking in and giving them the opportunity to help out for the team.
Cox thought he had that, but ultimately the 10 pin still standing. Braylon Allenberg spins it down the lane and picks up the clean strike. That is, I have to imagine, that's one of the most satisfying feelings in sports. Just seeing all those pins go down and just knowing that you bowled that perfectly.
Yes.
Actually, I don't have to imagine it. I can tell you it is because I've done it. Even the worst bowlers nabbed a strike or 2 in their day. Now, you've bowled 300 games 101 times.
Yes.
So that, which is remarkable, and one reason that you are bound for the Twin Cities Bowling Hall of Fame in the upcoming year. What does that honor mean to you, John?
It means a lot. A lot. I've competed locally, nationally, regionally, and a lot of the bowlers around here I got to know quite a bit, and I just bowl in quite a lot of tournaments, and so a lot of practice, a lot of dedication, had some coaching from some premium players, and just was able to meld it all together, put the experience together, and was good enough to become one of the elite here in the Twin Cities area.
It's quite the honor, isn't it?
It is. It's going to hit. It's even. I found out the news a couple months ago, and it's still sinking in.
Well, congratulations, and we're thrilled to have a Hall of Famer on our broadcast, the first bowling broadcast on CTN Coon Rapids, as the lineup is turned over, and Platt leaves herself with a little bit of work to do. 99-98, Coon Rapids with the narrowest of advantages. I mean, never a bad thing to sit around and talk bowling, right?
Oh,
Watch
not
bowling.
at all.
I mean, it's yeah, a lot of fun. Platt with a couple pins remaining. Four to be exact. When's your team next in action?
We compete tomorrow, actually.
Okay.
Yep, we have our meets on Fridays.
Okay.
The 2 bowling centers that we bowl at are Flaherty's Arden Bowl, and we compete also in the bowling center in Moundsview.
How is Flaherty's? I've driven by it dozens of times, never been in it. It looks like fun.
It's a great center. They They take very well good care of it. Family-owned center, they really cater to their bowlers and the patrons that come in the building. And they have it's a great all-around facility. Everything from seating area to the bowling, food. They offer a lot for the
price,
patrons.
huh?
Yes.
Nice.
And the nice thing is for the parents that bring their little kids bowling, they got the game room.
There you go. There you go. Lindstrom manages to collect a strike. Krolik, the picture of concentration as he has a little bit of work to do. Blaine is suddenly on top by 15 pins. And another difficult split, so Krolik able to do what he can. King again in that 3 spot. He had a strike in his first frame. Jason Moberg. The Moberg mullet. I think he should trademark that.
I'll have to bring that up to him when I talk to him next.
The chain and everything. I was going to ask, how many of these kids do you think you know in here?
To be honest with you, I probably know about 90% of them. They have also a junior scratch bowling circuit on here called the MJBTs, Metro Junior Bowlers Tour. And I have a son and a daughter that both compete on them. And so I'm there, of course, in support for my kids. And it was nice to get our exposure out there just from our name. And a lot of the kids now look for help with adjusting and improving on their game and things like that. So I get a good handful of kids that'll actually come up to me and say, John, I need your help. And again, it's all for the kids.
And you're happy to help.
Absolutely. I will never, ever turn a kid down that needs help.
Oh, how about Caleb King? He certainly needs no help in this match as he picks up his second strike and 2 strikes in a row. So a spare and 3 strikes for Coon Rapids in the 8-9 frame. 2 strikes by King and DeVries. Almberg trying to answer and does for Blaine right after Coon Rapids had gotten within 3, and Bengals pulling away now as they've collected. They've got a turkey, trying to go for a ham bone.
Yeah, it seems like both teams now have figured out the lanes now, and I think we're going to see even some more strikes.
DeVries once more bowling in the 5th spot, and he picks up another strike. So Blaine finishing red hot as they've got a turkey. Threatening that 200 number. Meanwhile, Christensen leaves a couple. Opening a window for Coon Rapids. Hoping to win this second game and tie this match at a game apiece.
Yeah, this is definitely a must-strike shot here for Gavin if they're going to have a shot at winning this game.
Score is 210 to 183. DeVries picks up a strike.
That was a big shot there. It's definitely now going to force JJ here. He's got to get his mark. He's got to get a spare.
Both teams, Coon Rapids with a ham bone. Christensen needs to pick up the spare and does. So that should be enough. DeVries probably with another must strike. 214 to 203. Coon Rapids finishing with a flourish. 4 consecutive strikes, a.k.a. a ham bone. And DeVries makes it 5 straight.
That's a great finish.
DeVries with a turkey in the last 2 minutes, really putting the pressure on Blaine. Although it looks like Blaine will have just enough as Christensen knocks 9 down, and the final score is going to be 223 to 213. So the Bengals have taken the first 2 games here in this match. But that was about as well as we've seen any team bowl here this afternoon.
Yes, there are lots of strikes there, and spare conversions were good too. It's 2-13's a great game for Coon Rapids. It's unfortunate that they lost, but I know Rob's going to talk to the kids and get that momentum going again and say, okay, now it's time to go.
Their previous high, Coon Rapids, actually, that's one below their previous high. They did have 2-14 in their match-clinching game against Andover, which was game number 4, as Platt steps up. Rachel Platt, the sophomore, starts things off here in game number 3, and she starts things off with a strike. As you take a look at Julie Saba, the head coach in her 4th season in charge of Blaine, gives some daps to Platt. Michael leaves herself with a couple, but a very, very capable spare to pick up.
Yes.
I was going to say pick-upable spare, but that's not a word.
Makeable.
Makeable spare. There you go. Michael, the picture of focus, and she collects her spare. But I will say, based on this score anyway, obviously Blaine finishing with a flourish with 5 consecutive strikes to end the game. But obviously this lineup change has borne fruit for Rob DeVries, and no one knows his team as well as DeVries does, but he just knew when to push the right buttons, and certainly putting DeVries in that 5 spot
Yes, definitely.
was effective, and obviously putting King in the 3 spot was effective as well, as he had 2 strikes in his 2 frames.
Correct, yeah. That was definitely a good move by Coach DeVries there. In this, even in this 3rd game, it's still early, but they're definitely setting the pace and they're setting the tone and letting Blaine know we ain't going anywhere.
2 narrow wins for the Bengals, and Lindstrom leaves himself with a little bit of work for his spare. 158-155. Cardinals fell to the Bengals in the first game and then racked up 213, but Blaine had 223, so hard to believe 213. It's a double-digit pin loss, but that was the case as Lindstrom dries off his bowling ball and considers the pin in the 4 spot.
You got it.
Nice, there you go. Learning slowly but surely here. This is a Metro North Central Conference meet here in Coon Rapids as Lindstrom, the state champion from last year, picks up his spare. Spring Lake Park and Andover doing battle on lanes 7 and 8.
This could definitely set a statement to Blaine and let them know what's going on, and that was a great shot there.
King again, red hot, as he picks up another strike from that 3rd position. Moberg, the picture of concentration. And no doubt a kid who has seen Kingpin multiple times as he knocks that one down.
That was a great shot there by Jason. I think the mullet kind of smoothing him right into the pocket there.
Yep. Jaden Cox looking to keep pace, and there must be some sort of pressure. As Coon Rapids, you look at the scoreboard, they have gone strike, 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 a turkey to start things. That's 8 consecutive strikes going back to their last game. Make it 9 for Jaden Cox, who's bowling in the 4th spot. He was hot. He got moved down 1, and he's continued his good roll.
Yeah, the Cardinals here are heating up.
9 straight strikes dating back to game number 2. And they have a 90-67 lead, but there has to be some sort of pressure you feel when you notice your counterpart in the other lane collects a strike.
Yes, absolutely. It just, as a player and as an athlete, when your opposing team answers, it's like you want to answer them right back.
Holmberg collects his spare. It's amazing in noticing how many of these spares are just a single pin, too. So lots of strikes and near strikes here this afternoon. As now DeVries awaits the bowl of Christensen. DeVries hoping to continue the momentum for Coon Rapids. Christensen, meanwhile, picks up a strike.
JJ
Coaches,
with that shot, looking to get his team back amped up here.
Yep. And DeVries with his 4th consecutive strike, dating back to last game. Make it a ham bone to start, or more than a ham bone. 5 straight for Coon Rapids here in this 3rd game. They have really figured out these lanes.
Yes, they have. Yep. And there comes that expertise from Coach DeVries on getting his team back on track.
Not a ton of emotion from their bowlers, but maybe you just get used to collecting strikes after a little while. Platt nearly unlucky to end the strike streak, but she'll get a chance. She's started several of these games off with strikes. (147 to 105). Coon Rapids with a sizable lead, but certainly Blaine more than capable of throwing a string of strikes together and coming back as Platt gets a nice round of applause for picking up the spare.
Great spare there by Rachel. Definitely enlarged the lead there for them.
So I imagine Mr. Lindstrom is a fixture on the junior bowling circuit.
I believe so, yes. I believe he competes out there.
Chris Krolik gets the strike train started again. He's 2 for 2 in this game. Coon Rapids well on top, 169 to 105. And results like that aren't going to help Blaine come back.
No, that was a good shot. Just a bad break on the pin mixture there.
Yep.
Didn't knock the 7 out, but still a good shot.
That's got to be maddening when you see your counterpart having just knocked down a strike to know that you need to answer and then leave that 7 hanging out there, or that 10, or any of them. Lindstrom coolly picks up his spare. Not quite as much of a hard left turn, but that's just amazing to see. And it's so interesting to hear about the technology that they're putting in bowling balls these days. In terms of weight distribution, is there a common weight that you see? Is it a 10, anywhere from 10 to 13, or
Generally, they're
personal preference?
It's a personal preference of being kids, and of course they're young and still growing. But the ideal weight nowadays is anywhere between 14 and 15 pounds. 16 is the max you can have at a bowling ball. But these bowling balls are just so powerful that you actually want the ball sometimes to deflect a little bit to move the pins around instead of pushing them back. It can bring the carry percentage up for their strikes.
As Moberg picks up a strike, and King a little unlucky as he leaves a spare hanging out there. Coon Rapids, though, still looking like they'll pick up their first game, 187 to 135. Blaine needing one more to win the match. So it's do or die for the Cardinals here at home.
The way Jaden's been bowling today, I think this will be a really good shot.
He seems to have be super dialed in. Obviously a strike in his first roll and one in his second.
That was a great answer there by Jaden.
Cox, 63% on varsity, 75% overall. His favorite memory in bowling, his first 300 game, and then 6 months later doing it again. Now, I don't know if you can answer this question. It may be too many to choose from, but what's your favorite bowling center in the Twin Cities area? Like, where do you enjoy bowling most?
I would probably have to say Blaine Brook Bowl over in Blaine, Minnesota.
Okay.
It's a great family center, family-owned center. It's just has a lot to offer as a bowler. It's overall, it's just a great center. And even on the flip side, for video gamers, they have, I think I was told, 59 pinball machines. And
wow.
It's which is pretty impressive, but their game room is great. But no, the center itself is, they cater to the bowler, they cater to their patron very well.
Coon Rapids with a new high score on the day as Blaine trying to keep pace with Christensen, but DeVries racked up another strike right after Cox, 2 straight. And the Cardinals, rather, with a score of 217, and unlucky to get the 9-pin down. But Coon Rapids with a new high score of 235 and a 70-point lead on the Bengals. Christensen able to claw some of that back, but it will not be enough, and Coon Rapids will stay alive as DeVries cannot pick up a spare. So 235 will be the final score for Coon Rapids. And Christensen with an opportunity to make it close. And he does pick up a couple strikes, 3 straight, a ham bone to make things interesting, but I believe it's going to finish 235 to 195, a 40-point victory for Coon Rapids here in game number 3 of this second match of the afternoon. Bill Hupp alongside Irondale head coach John Cryer Jr. here at the Metro North Central Conference meet. And Rob DeVries, the longtime head coach of Coon Rapids, has to be very pleased as his lineup changes, Coach Cryer, have resulted in 2 straight scores of over 210.
Yes, he'd made a great move there, and they definitely, with their new positions in that third game, they settled in really nice and put up a 235 is a huge game.
Indeed it is. Blaine won the first one, 158 to 155. And then in the second game, the Bengals took it 223 to 213. But in that third one, Coon Rapids got off to a red-hot start. 5 consecutive strikes, and they pulled away for a very comfortable 40-point win, 235 to 195. And Platt starts things off as the two teams again switch lanes. Michael unable to pick up the spare.
That was a heck of a try there.
Interesting. It looked like from our vantage point, John, that maybe Platt got her thumb stuck in the ball on that first one, the way she reacted. But that kind of thing can happen.
Yes, it's unfortunate. It's with the you can sweating, perspiring, things like that, and your hand will fluctuate. So sometimes you go to put your hand on the ball, and all of a sudden it's your hand feels a little bit swollen. It can make it a little bit more difficult to get out of the ball.
Platt able to collect her spare, though.
Way to manage very well there and hang in there and get the spare.
It's a sigh of relief, as it looks like, Lindstrom still in that number 2 spot, up from 3. And actually, Kroberg is going to go first. And a difficult, not even sure what that pin combination would be.
The nickname for that one is called Double Wood, because
wood?
the
Okay.
pins are directly behind each other.
Yep. Bowling is one of those sports, maybe like golf and some others, where there's more jargon and lingo than any other sport.
Yeah, there is definitely.
That if you're not in it, you would have no way of knowing. Ooh, and the Kroberg with a sufficient amount of spin on that, it actually took it away and was not able to collect the spare.
Yeah, just overhooked that one.
But it's pretty impressive, John, as you look at this, it seems like kids there's very rarely more than one pin left out there.
Yeah, with the power that some of these kids are able to generate with the bowling ball, it make these pins fly around pretty good.
King back to his striking ways as he was really good in the second game. Cooled off a little in the third, but picks up a strike here. Moberg with the matching bowling shoes, looking sweet as well. And he picks up a strike and celebrates. I want more individual sellies like that. Like a hockey player scoring a goal. That's tremendous.
That's one of the things that these kids like to do around here is they get a he got a little bit of a break there, some good carries. So it's their terminology is you got to slap that one off a little bit. So it's something that kids around here do a lot of when they get the break they need.
And they'll take it any way they can. Jaden Cox responding. He continues his hot form in the 4. Kind of looking at that right hand. I don't know if it got stuck or what, but it was effective. Alberg trying to answer. And he leaves pins in the 9 and 10 spot. As you can see, based on the background of some of these terrific shots, it's a packed house here in Coon Rapids. Good crowd on hand for this Metro Conference meet, Metro North Central Conference meets. Bill Hupp alongside Irondale head coach John Cryer Jr. as Gavin DeVries, who's had a really nice afternoon, the junior, who has undecided if he will bowl in college. Probably could. Also a member of the Cardinals basketball and golf teams, and he racks up a strike.
That shot right there is a good momentum changer in this game right here.
Indeed, as Coon Rapids jumping out to an 87-57 lead. Christensen trying to answer for Blaine. What do you tell kids, Coach, in terms of how to deal with their nerves?
Breathing. Breathing is a huge aspect, just from experience, from learning, and it's a simple thing that you can teach the kids how to calm down, how to focus in, just taking deep breaths, deep breath in, deep breath out, help relax. That way, when they go to throw their shot, they don't miss the little things, like they miss the follow through, or they didn't focus on their target on the lane, things like that. But number one by far is breathing.
Platt with her second roll. Yeah, and I mean, again, like a lot of things applicable in all sports, right?
Yes.
You see relief pitchers take deep breaths, batters. I mean, basketball players at a free throw line, as Michael knocks them all down. It's just so true. And it really makes a physical difference, right? It immediately gives you air and kind of just settles you down as Platt picks up the spare nicely.
Yeah, just for them, them first those few seconds that you take that deep breath in and out, you focused on that. You're not thinking about what I got to do for my spare, what adjustment do I got to make, things like that.
Now, Platt just picked up her spare. Explain to the viewers why Kroberg goes immediately after her.
It could be the preference of the bowler getting ready to go bowl. He could be to the point of he just wants to get up there and bowl. Maybe he's trying to apply some pressure to the opponent. It could just be his style of play. He just wants to get up and bowl. So it could be a couple of different things.
I guess coming in, I always thought it alternated as both Krolik and Lindstrom managed to pick up spares. Or, excuse me, strikes. Not spares, strikes. There was no way I was going to get through this entire meet without conflating those two at some point. King trying to help from that 3 spot, and he does. DeVries fired up as Cardinals in danger of running away with this for the second straight game. 155-107. Here's Moberg. They use the 9. Oh, the 9 goes, and he does the celly again.
There's that hit called the messenger.
What'd you say? Wipe it off, clap it off?
Slap it off.
Slap it off. Moberg's done that twice in a row as he's picked up a couple big strikes. Now the pressure goes on the junior, Jaden Cox. Likes to throw the motif and track bowling balls. Two of the bigger brands in bowling. 155-137 after a turkey for Blaine. And Cox responds and pumped up with a let's go.
We got a dogfight going now.
Yeah, back and forth these two teams. Alberg responds in kind. A ham bone for Blaine.
He got a huge break on that shot. Another pin bounced back out of the pit and knocked that one over for him.
Yeah, it looked like I was about to say he's got one left for his spare, but right after that, Christensen will go. DeVries to follow him. 10-pin hanging out there. So the run of 4 consecutive strikes ends. 194-185.
He can seal the game with a strike right here from Gavin.
And DeVries does. Gavin DeVries, the coach's kid, seals the match for Coon Rapids and ties this match at 2. Seals the game for Coon Rapids and ties this match at 2. Now it's just a matter of how the scores will shake out, but Coon Rapids trying to beat its high score of 213. Cardinals with a ham bone of their own to finish things here. You gotta love the way they have been finishing strong, and DeVries racks up another strike.
Yeah, they've been doing awesome. And again, once Coach Rob DeVries made that lineup change, they've been on fire.
It's a subtle shift, but he moved King up to the 3 spot. He bumped Jaden Cox and Gavin DeVries down 1 spot in the order, and it has resulted in 2 consecutive wins for Coon Rapids. Well, they lost that first game, but then they have bounced back, and now it's just a matter of what their high score will be. And another strike to DeVries with a turkey in the 10th frame. He is red hot here in this match. And the final 245-205. Another 40-point win for Coon Rapids. 2 straight 40-point victories for the Cardinals.
They're bowling very, very well. And it's, you know, if you're on the other side for Blaine, you know, you've won the first 2, you lost the last 2. Now you got to pull your players back, tell them to take it 1 shot at a time, try to match your opponent, and just don't let focus in on what Blaine does. Don't worry about now what Coon Rapids does. But Coon Rapids on the flip side, by all means, the momentum is going their way.
Platt gets things going here in the 5th and decisive with a strike. 2-2. We're tied here in the 5th and final game of this match between Blaine and Coon Rapids. And you have to imagine Coon Rapids is boosting that team average. Coming in, it was 185.86. But they have broken the 200 mark against Blaine 3 consecutive times. 213, 235, and 245. And they have been led by Jaden Cox and Gavin DeGrees in their in those 2, 4, and 5 spots in the order.
Yeah, they turned into a nice 1-2 punch right there.
Spare picked up by Blaine. Coon Rapids obviously with the strike by Platt. Krolik, well, has the opportunity to pick up the spare, and that's a makeable spare.
It's going to require some attention, but definitely makeable. It looked like his first ball there, he kind of lost it as he went to release the ball. He kind of lost that one off his hand.
And you've only got the state champion, the defending state champion in Lindstrom right across from you. Lindstrom flirting with the gutter, but he brings it back for a strike. It's so nerve-wracking when you see them bend it, have it ride the rail, so to speak, and then come back. But Lindstrom picks up a strike. Now it's Krolik trying to collect a spare, and he does. Big spare from Krolik. As it is just mark after mark after mark between these two teams.
They're all doing very well. All the kids are performing very well today.
Coach, tell me who's in the meet tomorrow for you guys?
For our first, we have, again, it's the same same format. We bowl 2 matches.
Yep.
So our first match, we are going to be bowling Columbia Heights. And then our second match, we're going to be bowling Centennial. And for our conference, we have, of course, us Irondale, Columbia Heights, Centennial, Totino Grace, and St. Anthony.
Good mix right there as King manages to continue his hot rolling. And Almberg, picture of focus, warming his hands before he steps up. 50-48, Coon Rapids on top by just 2 pins. They have had 2 40-pin wins consecutively to come back from a 2-0 deficit and tie this match at 2.
And actually, after 3 frames in it, we're tied.
And indeed, we are 50 apiece as Almberg makes it 2 out of 3 frames with a strike for Blaine. Or rather, for Coon Rapids, they just picked up a strike, make it 50, but Almberg picked up a spare. Jaden Cox looking to continue his hot form, and he leaves the 10 hanging out there, but nothing he can't clean up.
That was a great shot.
And sometimes it's, and now a matching effort for Christensen as both have the 10 pin hanging out.
It was both good
Tied
quality
at 68.
shots. Yeah.
Yep, tied at 68. Quality shots for both. And that element of luck. He couldn't quite do it. So Cox frustrated as Christensen looks to execute, and he does. 69-68, Blaine with a 1-pin lead with 6 frames remaining. And it looks like maybe Christensen and Moberg switch spots in the order. As DeVries continues his hot hand.
I think Moberg was 3rd, so he jumped from 3rd to 5th in the order. So maybe their 3rd bowler, or their 3, 4, and 5 bowlers might have changed
Moberg
positions.
was actually 2.
Was he 2?
He was 2. Well, in terms of what I was given as the match order to start, Moberg was 2. He's a junior. He's competed in other bowling tournaments and went to junior gold in Michigan this past summer.
Yeah, that junior gold is a very brutal tournament. It's more brutal mentally than anything. The kids bowl for 6 days straight.
Wow.
And if they...
It's a real endurance test.
It really is. And if they bowl good enough, they make a cut. So if they finish high enough in the standings, they keep bowling. And the champion of the junior gold would be bowling for, I believe it's 8 straight 9 straight days. It's a lot of bowling. So
Wow,
it's,
you have to be physically fit to do that.
and mentally as well. It can, and for the oil patterns, how the oil is laid on the lanes, it's designed to be tough, very hard. So it's in order to get a strike, you really got to be premium on your shot making. So it's a test, definitely, for these junior bowlers.
Blaine with a 10-pin lead as we begin our second set of frames. Second rotation. What's the terminology for the second time through?
My kids call it the second half.
Second half.
First half is the first 5 frames, and the second half is the 6 to 10 frames.
Well, it was a 10-point deficit as we start the second half. 108 to 98 as 2 straight strikes collected by Coon Rapids. 4 of 6 frames. And how about Platt? 2 strikes here in her 2 frames.
Definitely stepped up, and she's done very well. Oh.
Very impressive for a sophomore. And now Chris Krolik with some work to do as Caleb Lindstrom up in that second spot. Picks up a strike. That's huge right there, that swing. We'll see if Krolik, he's had to rescue spares earlier in this match. We'll see if he can do it here.
Oh.
Unable to. And he knows that's big. 128 to 117. Coon Rapids still within striking distance, pardon the pun. As King steps up, he's been dynamite in that 3rd spot. Once he was shifted up, maybe taking a little bit of the pressure off him, and he has responded, but a 2nd consecutive tough split. That's what split is that, John?
That is another bowling term. They call that the Greek church.
The Greek church. I love these terms. That is fantastic. You should have just showed me every pin combination beforehand and made me memorize these things. The Greek church, 2 straight Greek churches for Coon Rapids. They were unable to pick it up the first time, and King here does what he can, but still, tough sequence for Coon Rapids, who I think will not, they'll struggle to reach their previous high score. Blaine with a real opportunity here with Christensen. Jeremy Jr. standing in. 158 to 125. As Christensen knocks him down, picks up another strike. It's a ham bone for Blaine. 188 to 125. They need Jaden Cox to deliver in the worst way, and he does right there with a strike.
That's a good shot there.
And he has just been ice in his veins, Jaden Cox, this afternoon. Even when he's had to pick up a clutch spare, he's been able to do it. Moberg, that bowling ball looking like a Christmas ornament. Unlucky, leaves the 7 out there. DeVries, and even DeVries not getting the rub of the green, as they say, as he's got, it's the first time he hasn't thrown a strike in probably
a few games.
8 or 9 frames, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think lane 5, just from watching their action, it looks like there's a dry spot out there on lane 5, so the ball, when it's catching that dry spot, it's just overhooking, and it, unfortunately, it came and bit Coon Rapids at the wrong time.
217 to 153. Cardinals fading a little bit down the stretch here, and Blaine continuing to throw it well. Nothing but marks for the Bengals here in this 5th and decisive game. Moberg with a tough split of his own. He can't believe that. Shaking his mullet in bewilderment. But 224 is where the Bengals will end up with. Staking themselves to a 2-games-to-none lead. Coon Rapids, credit to them for coming back, but ultimately it would not be enough, and they would fall by a final of 224 to 163. So Coon Rapids, after winning it 3-games-to-2 over Andover in their first match, they fall in their second match to Blaine this afternoon by a final of 3-2. But again, credit to the Cardinals, John, for coming back, erasing the deficit, putting up their 2 highest scores of the game, and tying this match, forcing a winner-take-all 5th game.
Yes, they definitely did not give up. Coach DeVries with that line change. They put the formula together, just fell 1 game short.
Yep, as you see what's our upcoming coverage on CTN Coon Rapids, Howie and Neil will have, or Howie and Joe and Neil will have Coon Rapids visiting the Cambridge Isanti Knights. And next week we'll have them final regular season game at St. Cloud Apollo, and the football playoffs coming up as the weather starts to turn and we get into that time of year. Regular season, hard to believe it's almost over, but that's the upcoming football games on CTN Coon Rapids. Irondale coach, thank you so much for joining us. John Cryer Jr., head coach of Irondale, best of luck to your team this season. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you for having me on, and it was a blast, and it was great to see some other bowlers from the from a different conference.
Yeah, and of course you know a lot of these bowlers. You're very familiar with them. But we had some good matches. In case you're just joining us, as a recap, Andover, Coon Rapids defeating Andover by a final of 3-games-to-2, and then the Cardinals tying the match 2 apiece with Blaine, but ultimately falling to the Bengals 3-games-to-2 in their second match of the day. So that'll do it here for us from Coon Rapids. For Director Neil Hennon, Mike Peterson, and our entire CTN Coon Rapids crew, including my color analyst, Irondale head coach John Cryer Jr., I'm Bill Hupp saying good evening from Coon Rapids, where again, Coon Rapids goes 1-1 on their matches this afternoon. Thanks for watching this presentation of Coon Rapids at Cardinals Athletics on CTN Coon Rapids.